work because it gives them their characteristic. All right. So they have like, so basically like, the diaphragm, right, will have like a core of a wire behind it that's suspended on an electromagnet. So whenever the acoustic is going to hit the diaphragm, it's going to vibrate, right, just like our eardrums vibrate. And when it vibrates, it's kind of going to hit the electromagnet like that, right? And depending on the proportion of amplitude and frequency, all right, so amplitude and frequency are these two things that we're going to again talk about. It's going to give a signal to the electromagnet which is going to vibrate in a certain way. Those vibrations are going to cause an electronic energy that's going to be moved through a cable, right? So now, just by the thought of it, imagine that why this is creating a sound is because I'm saying something into it, right? The reason why this is going to translate into sound is because I need to like really sing hard into it so that it hits the magnet, right? So considering that, how do you think the tonal qualities of this mic are going to be? Yeah, you're all muted. Awesome. So basically the tonal quality of this microphone is going to, I need to sing like really loud in order for me to like, actually get some momentum happening in the diaphragm for it to create an electrical signal that's loud enough to be monitored, right? And that is the reason why live situations use this microphone. Okay. So let's say that I'm in a live situation where I'm standing here and I'm singing because I'm the singer, I'm in the center, look at me, I'm the singer. Okay. And then there's a guitar player who's standing right there. Okay. He is also as narcissistic as I am because I'm a singer and he's a guitar player, but nobody cares about him because he's a guitar player, right? And then there's a drummer behind me. There's a piano player with me, and if I'm like a Sufi rock band, I have some sort of like a flute player or somebody with me, right? And all of these instruments playing together on stage create a sound, right? And if say I'm using a microphone that is sensitive, it's going to create a cacophony of sounds, right? And that what that's going to do in turn is create a feedback loop, which nobody likes. It's usually the things that people, even with dynamic mics, manage to do in live sound all over the country. You'll be sitting in a venue and suddenly you'll hear, and you'll be like, oh shit, what was that? Right? And you've got hearing damage. Congratulations. Thanks to Sound Wale Bhaiya, who knew nothing about sound. All right. Now, coming back to the microphone. So this is a dynamic microphone, right? So this uses the principle of electromagnetic induction, okay, to create sound. So that means the frequency response of this microphone is not going to be as sensitive as something that does not use electromagnetic, but is powered. Okay. So dynamic microphone, they're a workhorse. I can actually throw it to a wall, which I'm not going to do, but I can if I want to, or I can throw it at somebody's head and there's not going to be a lot of damage. People have had SM58s. This is an SM58, again, a flagship dynamic microphone, right? And I also have an SM57. All I need to do is like unhook the thing and it's basically the same construction of a 57. There is like a very little difference in the frequency response, but let's ignore that for now. But yeah, so people have had, my teachers, like a lot of them had SM57s dating back to the 1950s, and they still have them, and they work really well, right? So SM57s, great microphones, very durable. Throw them around, do whatever you want with them. You can also actually record music, which is great. They sound great on instruments that are really loud. So which are instruments that are really loud? Bass drums, snare drums, metal singers, and aeroplanes, right? And set in the degrees of obnoxiousness. So trombones, yeah, trombones, though I prefer condenser microphones. Live situations, yes, I would use a dynamic microphone. But yeah, so that's what a dynamic microphone is. It's loud. I mean, sorry, it's not loud. You need to be loud. And yeah, and frequency response is usually like pretty flat. So usually when I say frequency response, it means like, all the throughout like 20 to 20K hertz, everything is going to be constant. Also, like, I know that I'm racing through some concepts. So if you have any problems or some questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. Till then, I'm going to assume you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. Awesome. Condenser microphone. Now, condenser microphones are divided into two categories. All right. So they're large diaphragm microphones and small diaphragm microphones. Okay. Which is which? Guess, guess, guess. Yeah, I'm joking. Everybody knows this one is large, right? Because it is large. Go figure. Now, the difference between a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone is the fact that a dynamic microphone works on an electromagnetic principle, whereas a condenser microphone operates on an electrostatic principle. As an NT1A. Again, Rode, Australian company, whatever, coming back to what I was talking about, electrostatic principle rather than electromagnetic principle. Now, the difference in both these principles of function is that the capsule of a condenser mic, it is also going to have a capsule, but the capsule is going to consist of two plates. All right. Now, one of the plates is like this very thin movable diaphragm, and one is a fixed back plate, right? And these two plates together form what we call a capacitor. All right. Now, capacitor is a term you've probably heard in India, right? You've heard in England. I mean, you've also like the US, but the term that you guys must have not heard for capacitor is actually condenser. And there is a word for capacitor in the UK. Electricians call it a condenser. All right. So a capacitor is basically an electrical device that's capable of storing an electrical charge. Okay. So and the amount of charge that it stores is like defined by like, you know, it's basically its capacitance value and the voltage, blah blah blah. All of that shit doesn't matter and nobody cares. But the fact is that these mics have that, because of the fact that, you know, they have like the ability to have an electric charge in it, they need external power to work. Okay. You cannot like just connect them like a dynamic, cannot plug and play. What you need for a condenser microphone is we call phantom power. All right. So yeah, it's not like that comic book hero is not going to come and work on this mic. It's actually like 48 volts of current that you in a sound card, right? So that is the main difference between electromagnet, electrostatic, electromagnet, electrostatic, electrostatic, electromagnet, right? So the main difference. So now because it being powered by an external thing, right? What happens to the quality? What happens to the quality is that it's much more sensitive as opposed to like this microphone, right? So this is like super sensitive. So because it's sensitive, you can use it on instruments that require more care and attention, and you can also use it to bring up, you know, all the nitty gritties, right? So when I'm recording instruments that I need like good tone out of, like let's say I'm recording an instrument like a sarangi, right? I'm going to use this because I know that the body is going to resonate in a certain way. It's going to like, you know, make you feel a certain way. And the reason why I bring up sarangi is it's an acoustic instrument, just like the acoustic guitar, right? So when I'm recording an acoustic guitar, I would probably this. I mean, there are situations where I would use this, but that is only to replicate a certain sound. So this can pick up like a lot of stuff that this can't, because, you know, this is a very sensitive microphone, and because it's sensitive, I can't throw it at, right? So these are not very durable, so you need to take extra care of them, right? This one is a smaller diaphragm, same thing, works on the same principle, right? um, MXL 8032, simple construction, similar to this one, just the capsule size is smaller, the diaphragm is smaller, right? So it becomes a small diaphragm microphone. The difference is that the frequency response, like this has a bigger low end, this one has a smaller low end. So this is great for instruments where you don't want a lot of low end. So what are those instruments? Cymbals, right? Also, like guitars, you don't need a lot of low end, okay? Because usually the low end given to us by the bass. So this is great for recording guitars as well. Okay, does that make sense? Are you all with me? Yes, awesome. I have seen these small diaphragms in front of amps. Why is that so? Yeah, people have different ways of recording, man. Audio engineering, audio engineering.